May I request my sister Khadija LaFenne to deliver her
ready? I didn't think that I would be the next one to speak. I thought I would be the last, so I was expecting all the scholars to speak first. But in a way I'll get it over if I speak now. I'm Khadija LaFenne, and as you can see I'm an English woman, but I'm an English Muslim and I'm proud of it. And I see no contradiction between my values that I was brought up with as an English woman and the values which I have found in Islam. And if anybody wants to ask me about that, they may come and speak to me. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers who have asked me to speak. It's a great privilege to speak in this place. I'd sort of given up speaking in public, but when I heard that it was here, I thought, well, perhaps this is what Allah wants me to do, and I decided to do it. I don't know how much time I actually have. Is it?
As long as you like.
No, I don't think that would not be correct, because sometimes people get switched off, if someone speaks too long. But I speak not as a scholar, not as an expert. I haven't studied ancient Arabic books and that, but I speak as an ordinary Muslim woman, and from the point of view of common sense and the knowledge that I have learned in about 15 years of being a Muslim. When I was young, I had a great affinity with Muslims and Islam, but I didn't become Muslim for a long time, not until I was about 52, because I thought that Muslim women were second class. And when I looked around me, I was in Africa at the time, I looked around me and I saw things that I really could not stomach, that were being done to women. And I thought, if this is what Islam is, I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm sorry to say that quite a lot of people still feel like that. But later on I met people who gave me an idea of the true nature of Islamic teachings about gender, and I was introduced to people I had not heard of. Khadija, the first wife of the Prophet, whose name I actually chose, and the beloved daughter Fatima and her daughter Zainab, and those three women are the ones that brought me to become a Muslim. So you might say, why? How is that? In every faith, people need somebody to look up to, because obviously Allah, God is the one they should look up to first, but you need somebody on the earth that practices and follows God as well as they can to look up to, and women especially need that. They can't just follow men all the time. So I loved Khadija first, actually, and why I chose her name was because of her economic independence. A lot of people don't know this. She was a trader, and she used to send the Prophet, before he was a prophet, on long journeys, to trade for her. A lot of people don't know that, and I think they need to know it. And I also love her bravery and her loyalty to him, peace be upon him, and the fact that when she was 45 and he was younger than her, 15 years younger, she proposed to him, and she gave me that feeling that I could do the same thing. And this was very important to me as an older woman at that time. So, like mother, like father, and like daughter, if a mother and father of that caliber have a daughter, well, the daughter is going to be great. Time being short, I will simply just tell you about a few qualities which probably you already know, but how they affected me and how I personally relate to these qualities. And these qualities showed me my rightful place as a Muslim woman, and indeed it is the rightful place of all women everywhere, and it's not just Muslims that we are talking about here. It is universal, because I believe, as Sister said in the universality of humanity. After all, if there's only one God, there's only one humanity, there is only one. And we are all the multiplicities that have come from that one, and we are going to go back to that one. So our separation is really just a way of helping us to learn. So what I love about Fatima are certain things. First of all, her maturity at a very young age. And this shows that young ladies like this, who we've heard doing the most marvelous recitation of the names of Allah, and this young lady who recited the beautiful Surah Kawthar, which I haven't got time to explain now, but Kawthar is a spring, a wellspring which Allah has given us. Young women, if they have the right grooming, the right preparation, they can play a very active role, and they're doing it now. I'm sure you all are, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, it's not like the old days, you know. So young women, we're going back to what you should be, going back to play an active role. Her mother, as we heard, died when she was quite a little girl, and she used to go around with her father looking after him. And the sister told us that she was known as the mother of her father. And I think hardship in this case can bring out qualities from people. You either submit totally to the hardship or you overcome it. Next, I love her loyalty and her steadfastness to her father and her husband. She was always true to herself as well. She was loyal not only to them but to herself. She perceived herself as being in a position of responsibility and leadership. This did not, however, mean that she had to be an honorary man. Oh no. She showed how a woman should lead. And I think this is a great example to all of us, that you don't have to imitate a man to be a leader. She led her household. She's a wife and mother. We heard she had 5 children. And she had a very frugal household, because in those days people lived a very much simpler life than they do now. And the family of the Prophet were expected to suffer the same hardships as their followers. They weren't expected to go and, you know, live like millionaires with swimming pools and so on. They had to live equally difficult lives and share the frugality. And I think that this really is an example to all of us, you know, that leaders are people who are supposed to be servants. They are not supposed to be separate from their people. And I'm speaking in a place which has been the leader of the nation for hundreds of years, and people who sort of thought that they were separate from the ordinary people outside. And I'm very glad that the Baroness Nadine mentioned this, because I think the family of the Prophet Fatima and her daughter were people who really related to the ordinary followers around them. Of course, it might have been a bit easier to do because the community was small, but I think we have to remember this. And her being a housewife as well was not regarded as inferior. I really hate this modern idea that if you stay at home and look after your family and your children, that you are somehow not quite the same as that career woman who goes off in high heels to the office. Why cannot we see that that is a very important job, just as important as going off, you know, and being a community leader? You are actually starting the community by being a mother and a wife. And what is wrong with it? And I found this modern idea that there's something wrong with just being that, when it is in fact the most important thing. So Fatima managed to do that, and she also managed to be a leader of the women of her time. Now finally, I just want to say a word about her spiritual understanding, because I think this is the basis of her general behavior. After the death of the Prophet, peace be upon him, she made a very famous speech, because she was deprived of the inheritance which she should rightfully have been given. It was taken away from her because of some silly squabbling between, I'm sorry to say this, but this is when, right from the beginning, people started to squabble. And her inheritance was taken away, and she made a very good speech, which we still have, to those people who were trying to take away her inheritance. And she started by emphasizing, yes, won't be very long. She started by emphasizing this, I'll just quote, Allah made belief to be purification for you from polytheism. In other words, worshipping other than one God. He made prayer an exaltation to protect you from conceit. That means that every time you pray, it brings you back to God and who you really are, and it prevents you from thinking that you yourself are more important. Alms are purification for the soul, that is to avoid excessive attachment to your possessions. Fasting, an implantation of devotion, and justice, a harmony of the hearts. Now justice is very important here, because outer justice can only prevail when there's inner harmony within people's hearts and outer harmony between people. And Fatima's trying to emphasize this, because she emphasized justice, and this can only happen when we all see ourselves as a creation of the one, and this is what she stressed in her speech. And her desire for this justice as regards her inheritance was not just a selfish desire to have her rights. It's a universal principle that should be applied to all. And we know that she used the income from that land to give to the poor, and it shows that land ownership should be used responsibly for the good of society, which is very much forgotten in this day and age. Just final paragraph. Why do a majority of the British people, as shown in a recent poll, believe that Islam promotes the oppression of women? Ask yourself, why is this? I'm sorry to say that Muslims themselves bear a great deal of responsibility for this impression, because they have forgotten their origins and the true great women who, at the beginning of the teachings of Islam. So I end by appealing to Muslim educators, of whom there must be many here, especially in mosques, to study the life and behavior of this unique lady and practice the correct principles in their own lives first, and then teach them to their congregations. Thank you very much.